Late, but not to be denied. Hold on, I got to take these headphones off. Wicked Radio late today, and I am an absolute mess trying to figure out internet connections, but live on the road from the very lovely, by the way, Homewood Suites. I think Marriott owns it, I think. I'm not too sure. I didn't even book it. But anyway, in lovely Orlando, Florida. Thanks for hanging out with me. And if you're listening to the replay later on, you're like, what? It's on the normal time. I always listen anyway. Don't worry about it. No big deal. But here we are. I have to tell you, by the way, all of these, and we talked about this on Friday a lot, Thursday and Friday, because this is the time of the year right before Thanksgiving where they come out with all the travel estimates. AAA always comes out with this, and they always say that we're going to have a record number of people driving 50 miles or more on the road and a record number of people flying. They are not kidding. I just took a simple trip from my home in South Florida to Orlando, and this was just yesterday. It is now, this is a travel city. I get that. I totally understand. It is absolutely packed. Airports are packed. I had to drop off my daughter the other day at the airport over the weekend. That was packed as well. So, it tells you two things. Sure, the economy still sucks. We all know that. Absolutely, right? But people aren't afraid to travel, and there's just a different vibe. I know it's all anecdotal. I can't point to any science to actually prove this. I totally understand that, and I get it. Can't you feel it? There's a difference in the air. There's something else going on this time of the year and this holiday coming around where people are just throwing caution to the wind. Yes, last year was down a little bit for Thanksgiving and holiday travel. People are saying, screw it, I believe. You know what that means? Overall, and I was thinking about this on my long drive yesterday, what it means is the economy is going to rebound faster than I think what we thought was going to happen yesterday, or at least, before the election. I think anyway, because so much of this stuff is just psychological. People are psyched. They're ready to spend again. They're going, yeah, okay, right, yeah, inflation still sucks. Trump hasn't got to work on that quite yet, but he's going to. And I'll tell you what else. And by the way, thanks for finding Wicked Radio. And for you people who joined me late today, thanks for being patient. Here was the issue. So the internet connection was fine. Everything else was fine. My little on-the-road mixer is okay. And if you were with me in the beginning when I was testing this thing out and trying to decide and asking you guys if I was even going to do a live stream, when I was up north in New England, I actually tested it in the woods to see if I could broadcast from anywhere. That worked like a charm. That was great. Here I am in a beautiful hotel suite, and I'm like, oh my God, the connections aren't working. This worked in the freaking woods. Why isn't it working now? But we're going. We might have less sound today, but we're going. We cannot be stopped. I got to tell you what else. The reason why I'm on the road was I'm a kid of the 80s like a lot of you are. So when I found out that one of the metal bands that I've always loved was at least coming to my state, not my hometown, but my state, I had to get there. I would love to see in the comments. I would love to see this. This would be like the greatest demographic test of all time. How many of you don't have to tell me you're a fan, but how many of you remember the band Wasp? I know. You wouldn't peg me for a metal guy, but totally am. Absolutely, totally am. Blackie Lawless, Wasp, Blind in Texas, Wild Child, all that stuff. Come on. If you were fans, if you at least know the band, let me know. So no, I'm just not talking to the wall here. Okay, so they came to Orlando, and it was they're playing their first album live from start to finish, and then some extras at the end. I said, I never got a chance. Of all the bands that I saw in the 80s, I never got a chance to see them, and I've always loved that band. So, of course, went to Plaza Live in Orlando and went to the show. And it was packed, and it's interesting when you're my age, too, and I'm like, I'm in my 50s now, like a lot of you are, I know, because I know you personally. It's interesting to see what the crowds are all like, and this was something. And if you are a rock fan like I am, you look at the shows now of some of our favorite bands in the 80s and you go to see them live and you look around and you probably do the same thing too. My hope is always, there's going to be dudes like me. I get it. I hope they bring their wives. I hope so anyway. But I also always look for one thing. I always look to see if there's like younger kids in the audience to see if rock is going to be saved, if like this music is going to go on. I will tell you this, and it's not for nothing, and it's a slow news week anyway. There were a lot of younger people into this band showing up for the first time, like kids in their early 20s. Talked to a couple of them. If you're a rock fan, that was a good sign. Now, I get into that long-winded story about the show I went to last night, living out my heavy metal 1980s dreams for one specific reason. And this actually does kind of tie into cultural events. I will tell you this personally, too. completely randomly, in between songs, while Wasp was playing, they do, like I said, the entire first album live, little bit of a break, and then they come back and they do some other stuff that wasn't on their first album. Completely randomly, okay? In the middle of the set, a Trump chant broke out at Plaza Live. A couple of thousand people there live, just chanting Trump. Like it always happens in the rallies. What always happens when that happens? USA, USA chants start to break out. And I was like, it was something to behold. I don't know. If you thought this post-election buzz was going to die down pretty soon for Trump, I don't think so. And that's why I bring that up too. And it goes into holiday travel. I think there's just a general buzz in the air of people are psyched about that. I think people are going to spend more money, do some different things. And that's a huge factor of it. We're all rooting for DOGE, right? The Department of Government Efficiency. We're all rooting for that to get things done, to cut out all the red tape and all the waste and actually get rid of useless, bloated federal government employees. But the bigger factor of all of that is everybody else. Not to encourage everybody to go into debt spending, but so much of this is psychological. It's just a different, I don't know, if you've been out and if you're on the road now for Thanksgiving and you're, when you get back, it's true. You'll feel the difference in the way people feel about things. There's just a general attitude and an optimism about what's happening in the country right now. And it's a cool thing to see. Not with your far left relatives who will be at the Thanksgiving table possibly. Boy, and this has been another thing too that is all over the place. When you go on, not so much on X because people are like, don't tell me how to live on X. It's more of an independent kind of medium. But if you go on TikTok, hopefully not, or on Instagram, or God forbid, Facebook with Zuckerberg's whole outlet there, you see all this stuff. And this was the number one trending topic on those social media outlets over the weekend. You ready? From both sides. What do I do about my relatives that want to make changes for Thanksgiving? We know we're getting together, but I've been told that I can't talk about certain things. Or from the lefty side, what do I do? I've been invited, and we already committed to go to my Trumper relatives. What do I do? Listen, this is the greatest advice that I've heard for this entire thing, and I heard it from a close personal friend of mine over the weekend. You know what you do? Absolutely nothing. You go on, and I'm talking about if you're like, common sense people like us. You go on with your plans as you normally would. And if you got some people that you think are going to complain or some lunatics that are coming to your house for Thanksgiving, and they will be, that's going to happen. It's like with the rest of society. The bottom line is you don't have to really listen to those people. You don't have to start a fight with them because you won. We said this last week too. You won, and you're right. You don't have to worry about them. Humor them, move on, let them deal with that. All right. Let's get into some of the news here, and it's not happy-go-lucky kind of news, and I always go to a trending kind of thing, and the way the tea leaves are kind of falling, I always go to the great Tucker Carlson. This disturbed me we're going on like 3.5 days from now, ever since he talked about this. We'll lighten it up after this, I know, but just to cover it up, because we've been thinking about it, right? I guess the polar opposite of that optimism in the country we're all talking about is this. What the hell is this lame duck administration? Not president, because God knows where Joe is. He's not in control of anything. He did his big farewell speech. Did you catch that too, where he said, I'm leaving the nation better off than when I came? Sure you are, Joe. Here's the sad thing. He actually believes that. He really does. He truly believes that. He's been told it enough by his handlers, by his puppet masters in the administration that, Mr. President, you're doing a great job. The whole country is so much better. You're just doing fantastic. He's heard that enough, and it's kind of like a broken record, like the groove is in his head, and he can't get out of it. He believes it. That's one thing. I don't know where he is. Kamala's off in a box wine drunk somewhere in Colorado on vacation somewhere. So the egghead lunatics that are actually running this country are getting us closer and closer to a very dangerous situation, which is why I lead to the Tucker Carlson post just a couple of days ago. Here's what he said, and I'll say it almost verbatim because It's number one, it's scary, but he lays out the situation perfectly, as Tucker always does. A lame duck president just started a hot war with the world's most dangerous country. Well, there's a starting. Boy, if you want to learn how to get somebody's attention on X, that's how you write it. All of us are very close to being killed. Well, yet somehow the Republican Speaker of the House hasn't even mentioned it in public or in leadership meetings, what is going on. Again, that's from Tucker Carlson. And he's right about that. And this kind of goes into, as optimistic as we are about all the great things that are coming forward. And I would put Trump's clip at like all the nominees so far. Maybe like if it was like a batting average, he's hitting like 350, 375. Pretty good. He's on a roll. Not all of them, but most of them. We all talked about the Matt Gaetz play, which I think was a rope-a-dope move to try to get in Pam Bondi, who he really wants in there at the end of the week. But he's right about this. We got to hold all of these people accountable as well. This is a scary situation. We're all in holiday mode. We are all kind of like just chilling. We're all just like I said, taking in things that we didn't before. But he's right about this. And you know who else said this? Vivek and Elon said it too. The two guys leading the charge for DOGE, for Department of Government Efficiency. We also have to hold all of them accountable. As happy as we are with the results, optimism in the country, things are going well. It looks like great things are going to happen. We got a long way to go before this swearing-in ceremony happens with the inauguration in January. A long way to go. They can do a lot of damage. Now, Tucker will always take the side because he's in the inside of the swamp in D.C. Nobody knows it better. He'll always take the side of, he knows the worst of these people and what they're capable of. So he'll tell you about that, right? So that's like Tucker's this far extreme. Other people saying not so much. Trump's already working on it. But the bottom line is, and this is how it relates to you and me and everybody else, just regular people. We pushed Trump over the finish line. Amazing campaign. He did it, The guy fought, loves this country enough to really put his life on the line. Literally. Not just his finances like the first time around and his reputation. Put his life on the line to try to fix this country. But this time around, it took something more than that, and it took all of us. That's why this optimism in this is there in the country right now, because it worked. Because we pulled Trump across the finish line to get it done. It was like this collective consciousness of patriots in America. That's what got it done. That same effort, we can't get lazy, I don't think. Here's my 2 cents on this. We can't get lazy on it. We got to hold all of these elected officials accountable to get it done, to get things like this done, to step in and get to work right away. And I know they are behind the scenes, to make sure that we don't get into a hot war, to make sure that we don't do something especially stupid, to make sure that we don't allow an influx of, another, couple of million migrants into the country before Trump can fix it. They're working on it. He's working on it. But we have to, too, and that comes from public pressure. That's what we have to do to make sure this stuff doesn't happen. Post your opinions on this thing. Reach out to your elected officials, the ones that are just coming in that aren't even sworn in yet. Make your voices heard and make sure that you're standing up against this kind of stuff. Because if anything bad would happen, none of us want that to happen. It would happen when we're trying to enjoy a Thanksgiving after a really, really intense couple of years, right? That's when it would do it. So that's my 2 cents on that. We got to hold the line. We got to hold them accountable. We're all happy with the results for the most part, right? Won the popular vote even, and the House and the Senate. Still can't let up. You got to hold these guys accountable. You have to. That's what Tucker's saying right there. Well, we lost a legend over the weekend. I followed this guy for years, and I know you have too. It's funny because this is kind of like the theme today is going back to the 80s. I was talking about heavy metal shows from the 80s. Well, in his prime, Chuck Woolery, 2-2, R.I.P. Chuck, one of my favorite television personalities of all time. We lost him over the weekend. He was 83. He hosted all kinds of game shows. Well known for, you're thinking it, what was the show? Come on, you played hooky home from school in the 80s at least once or twice, and you watched this. Love Connection, remember that? That was on from 83 to 94, and it was that online dating before the internet. And the contestants were younger. They would put them all together. Here's something else about Chuck Woolery, though. He was amazing all the way through pretty recently, and he was pretty active on X. He was one of those guys in Hollywood. Yeah, you can tell me he's just a game show host, whatever. He was a big personality. Oh, once he started getting his political opinions out there, they canceled him too. His X account was, he was a very, very patriotic dude. And like a lot of celebrities, he wasn't afraid to put it on the line. You know, I always think of the biggest cancellation story and the guy that they really kind of shit-canned to the side because of his opinions was James Woods, the actor. But he didn't care because he was loaded. And he just went into behind-the-scenes stuff, into production. He didn't care, and he still got his voice out there. So this kind of like struck me. And I always loved Chuck Woolery because I thought he was just an awesome, funny host. He was like hilarious. Well, on his X account, and I saw this morning, and it really did kind of affect me because, you know, he had a lot of people who loved him. This post came up from Chuck Woolery. We will keep Chuck's memory alive right here on X with updates from Blunt Force Truth and Mark Young Truth. I guess some of his friends that were helping him handle the X account. But 83 years old, great guy. You can tell me he was just a game show host, but he was a lot more than that. Just a great, classy entertainer. And at the very end of his career, wasn't afraid to speak out. One of the few in that industry that actually did it. I'm going to miss that guy a lot. All right, we're going to wrap it up today with one of the most epic school fails I have ever heard of in my life. The internet connection, as far as my sound goes, isn't the best, but I'm going to hold the mic to this because you need to hear the kids' reaction to this because they're absolutely amazing. I haven't heard from the parents yet, but you got to hear the kids. Here's what I'm talking about. A school, it starts off horrible, ends fine. A school bus driver in Colorado got fired, good, but now may face charges after dumping 40 elementary school kids on the side of the road in freezing weather. Huh? Yeah. He was filling in for another driver and didn't know the stops. So you just dump the kids off by the side of the road and say, screw it, I'm going home, not my problem. Here are two of the elementary school kids that were on the bus. Here's the most shocking thing to me, and I thought there would be tears, and they are upset about it, obviously. You have to listen to this and how they handle the situation. Listen to this.
We got on the bus, and there was a substitute, and he wouldn't let us leave the school until we stopped talking. And he was skipping all the kids' stops. And we felt like when he was driving and missing our stops, like we were getting kidnapped. So he stopped right here at this intersection, and he said, everybody get off my bus. And then everybody was like stressing, like crying. And we forgot our jackets on the bus. Me and my little sister, we live like 2 miles away from here. We had like no idea what to do.
First of all, when is that kid running for office? Or when's he getting a podcast? That's what I want to listen to. That kid's amazing. He's like, what? 8, I think? Incredible kid. But did you hear him right there? One of his descriptions was, we thought we were being kidnapped. And this idiot bus driver actually tells kids to get off his bus, and a lot of them were first off so fast they had to leave their jackets. Huh? Okay, now, here's the first part. Got fired. Yeah, obviously, the most obvious school district firing of all time, and may face charges. Here's my question to you, because a lot of you are parents, and I'm a parent too. My kids are older now, but obviously. What would your reaction be to this? If just an absolute idiot did this to your kids. Now, you're thinking of all the factors that are combined with it, right? A fill-in bus driver, we know that. So this is somebody that's probably, I don't know this for a fact, I don't. Maybe older, it's like part-time work, I don't know. Maybe just probably not making a ton of bucks. Probably has all kinds of problems in his life already. Fired already. Do you leave it at that? And this is going to sound so nasty, and I know this is the time of we're supposed to like reflect and be thankful for all the great things in our lives and kumbaya and all the happiness. And I understand that. I totally do. I really do. But I got to tell you, I'd be one of those parents that would push for charges to be filed. And you're thinking, well, you're an ass. No, there's a reason why, I swear. I don't think it's this guy that would do something like this again. I don't think. I would hope not anyway. You know, let's hope he's not hired by any other school district in the country like ever again. But at some point, we were talking about pushing back a couple of minutes ago and holding any official accountable. We've got a crisis still. Ever since like pre-COVID all the way through now, we have a crisis of incompetence in this country. And I got that phrasing from the great Scott Adams. And if you've never followed his podcast, Coffee with Scott Adams, fantastic daily podcast and live stream. And he coined that phrase. We have a crisis of incompetence in this country right now, exemplified by a story like that. And what that bus driver who just didn't care said, "Screw it, not my problem." You know, how often do you see that now when you go into a grocery store or a retail place? Hey, can you help me with something? Not my department. Don't care. There's a lack of caring, just professionalism. I'm sure the guy was stressed. I'm sure he didn't get all the information or the proper training, and I understand that. But it's the ultimate example of incompetence because you're dealing with kids in cold weather. It doesn't matter. You have to take care of them. So in a case like that, I would be one of those parents that would push for charges against the guy. If for nothing else, to get the story out there, to make these districts and school officials and county officials at least aware that parents and people and just regular citizens are pushing back, can't put up with anymore. They just can't. Ridiculous. But that kid, man, a couple of kids there, we heard in the audio. And we thought we were being kidnapped. That's a well-spoken kid right there. All right, back in the comforts of a home studio, so it won't be late tomorrow, 8 a.m. live, and hopefully all the technical things work. Thanks for hanging out with me and being patient. I appreciate that so much. But, man, got this live stream to work in the woods, and I had problems in a beautiful Homewood Suite studio. How lame am I? But it still will live as a audio podcast just a little bit later on. Give me a couple of minutes to post that. Wherever you get your audio podcast, that's where you'll find it. Just look for Wicked Radio with Bill Adams. This will be on the live stream replay on X and on YouTube a little bit later on. And tomorrow, we'll get closer and closer to the Thanksgiving holiday and start to put together our list of things we are grateful for. Not the lame things you usually see in regular TV shows. We'll have some fun things we can talk about. With all that said, number one takeaway today, hold these people accountable. All of them. We shouldn't stop at just a big election win or things going well in the country. Tucker's right. We got to hold them accountable. It doesn't stop now because a lot of damage can be done before the inauguration happens. And the second takeaway is, this is our constant. Don't ever take any crap from anybody, especially stupid bus drivers leaving kids out in the cold. Have a wicked awesome day. Thanks for hanging out with me. I appreciate it as always. We'll talk to you tomorrow.